You're now good, Chair.
Thank you, Katie. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Special Events Advisory Committee. My name is Tony Mancini. It's March the 13th, and I have 9:34 a.m. as our start time. To begin, I'd first like to acknowledge that the Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, in ancestral and the traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the Peace and Friendship Treaty signed in this territory and recognizes that we're all treaty people. I would also like to acknowledge we recognize the histories and legacies of the African Nova Scotia people and communities that have been here for more than 400 years. Once again, good morning, everybody. Maybe we'll just do, since we're doing this one virtually, let's do a little roll call to see, we can test your mics and see your handsome or beautiful face. And if you're not an elected official, if you could also excuse me, identify what organization you represent. Starting with the Vice Chair, Councillor Catherine Morris, please. You're on mute, Catherine. You're still on mute, Catherine. Katie, are we able to unmute her? That's why we do this, so we can have it all tested before we get into game time.
I just requested for Councillor Morris to unmute, but if not,
Councillor Morris, can you try it again? Okay, I think she's leaving and come back in. Councillor Lovelace.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Joining you today from City Hall. Great to see everyone.
Great. Is Downtown Tim online? See him online. Do we have any regrets from Tim, Katie?
He hasn't joined the meeting yet, and I haven't received any regrets.
Okay. Roberta, good morning.
Good morning. I'm Roberta Dexter Robidoux. I own Strategic Meeting Designs, and I represent the events industry.
Good morning, Roberta. Thank you. Natasha.
Councillor.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Natasha Chestnut. I'm the Executive Director with the Restaurant Association of Nova Scotia.
I think, Natasha, this is one of your first meetings where we're actually getting presentations and really rolling up our sleeves and getting some work done. So welcome, Natasha. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Mr. Jefferson.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Ross Jefferson, President and CEO of Discover Halifax, and I'm calling in today from the Discover Halifax offices.
Good morning, Ross. Thank you. Is Mark on the line? I don't see Mark with us. Is he not here, Katie?
He hasn't joined yet and hasn't sent any regrets.
Okay, Allison from the Halifax Partnership.
Good morning. I'm Allison Gillum, VP of Marketing and Communications at Halifax Partnership, Halifax's economic development organization.
Thank you so much, Allison. Good morning. Billy, why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Hey, everybody. Billy Comer, Manager of Events with the municipality.
And great. And of course, we have Katie Campbell, our municipal clerk. So we're all set to go. Catherine, let's check in with your audio again. Want to check again?
Good morning. I'm actually down the hall having some laptop troubles this morning. Can you hear me now?
Yep, loud and clear. No problem.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Councillor. All right, let's get started. First item is approval of minutes. Can we have someone move the minutes? Any questions or deletions from the minutes? Good. By Roberta, a seconder.
I'll second.
Second by Allison. All those in favor?
Aye.
We now have approved minutes. Approval of order of business, approval of additions and deletions. Madam Clerk, I believe there were some changes to the agenda.
Yes, there's no additions, but there's one deletion. It's item 7.3.3, Skate Canada. They are unable to make this meeting. They had a lot going on with the figure skating world championships, but we're going to work with committee members and the organization to find a time that works for them to come and present.
Great. Thank you, Katie. Any members have the additions or deletions? Seeing none, could I have someone move the agenda, please?
I'll move the agenda, Ross.
Yep. Thank you, Ross. Seconder?
Second.
By Councillor Morris, all in favor? Good. We now have an agenda. Fantastic. Any business arising out of the minutes? Seeing none. Call for declaration of conflicts of interest. Seeing none. No consideration of deferred business, there is none. Madam Clerk, is there any correspondence or petitions?
No correspondence or petitions were received from the clerk's office.
Any petitions from the committee? And seeing none, fantastic. All right, so now we come to presentation. So first up is 7.3.1, the Royal Nova Scotia Tattoo. And Scott, I believe you're online, are you? There you are.
I am. Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, Scott. You're signing in from beautiful Burnside, I trust?
No, I'm in Bantry, Ireland today.
Oh, wow. That's not a bad spot to be in. That's fantastic. You're on a recruiting mission, I trust?
No, I'm on family holiday. My family's from here, so.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Well, look, Scott, you're no stranger to this committee. You have 10 minutes. We look forward to hearing what's going on with the Nova Scotia Tattoo. And Katie will give you a heads up when you have about 30 seconds left, and then when your time is up, and then the committee has an opportunity to ask questions if they wish. So Scott, I think your slide deck is coming up there. Katie's getting that set. I believe the clerk is going to advance it after you just request the next slide, and we'll go from there. The floor is yours, sir. Good to hear from you.
Great. Thank you very much again, Mr. Chair, and thanks to everybody on the committee for taking the time to have me on the agenda today. I appreciate it very much. If we want to go ahead and go right into this, Katie, I've got a lot here, so I'm going to do my best to cram it into 10 minutes. But essentially, the tattoo is here today to give you an update on where we are, in particular around the post-pandemic recovery process. And we are seeking new investment to help with stabilization throughout that process. The tattoo has been a big part of the cultural community, as you know, in Halifax for many years. We're going into our 44th year this year. 2.3 million people have seen the show since 1979, with 40,000 casts participating. And the event is a significant economic contributor in the cultural event sector. Maybe if you want to keep advancing continually, that's fine. The tattoo ranks high when tested with visitor visibility. In 2023, we had some really positive results. We started to see post-pandemic recovery finally. There were really good signals of that. We're starting to see economic impact come back from the show after since 2020. However, since in almost a year ago or 4 years ago today, the tattoo had about $600,000 in our bank account. That was our operating reserve. And since then, that's gone. Our reserve runway has been depleted due to surviving through the pandemic. And in fact, the post-pandemic era of recovery has been the most challenging part. So we're here today to sort of give you an update on that. We are asking for new investment. And primarily today, though, we're talking about rationale and why we think that we are good candidates for new investment. We are seeking $650,000 combined from all three levels of government. So if we want to go forward here, thank you. Again, the context that we're operating in is very challenging. In fact, it's more challenging than the actual lockdown period. Trying to survive and reopen and maintain an open show since the pandemic lockdowns has been the most challenging part. We're facing very extreme, unprecedented challenges that we've never seen before in the history of the show. 2022 was particularly harmful when we did open up after being closed for 2 years. The show lost a tremendous amount of money. The sales were the lowest ever, and the attendance was the lowest ever in 2022. And then now we're dealing with inflation. So next slide, please. You've probably heard this term, a bit of a buzz term during the post-pandemic recovery process. For a lot of sectors, it's the K-shaped economy of the recovery. Big, large, many people have benefited dramatically from the pandemic and what has happened. And many people have hurt very much. And the local festival entertainment sector is the bottom part of the K. And we just want to make that clear because there's a lot of signals out there that the entertainment business is doing well because of global multinational organizations like Live Nations and your Taylor Swifts and so on. But the economic reality for local festivals, regional festivals, and independent artists is pretty bleak still. Next slide, please. Our economic impact is significant. This past year, we saw 59,000 spectators participate in the tattoo show and festival. There was about $10.2 million in spending in the community as a result of the tattoo, which resulted in 22 million in economic impact. Next slide, please. I want to run through a quick comparison of the Juno Awards coming up soon in Halifax and the tattoo in terms of our economic impact comparisons. And so this data is taken from the tattoo box office this year, past our customer survey, our last economic impact study of 2015, and the 2019 Juno's STEAM report and the Halifax Municipality Staff report to this committee dated August 24th, 2022. Our data includes estimates from ticket holders only. We didn't include the festival attendees because we can't really exactly connect them to us, but we can connect the people that actually purchase tickets to our show in their data for this. And also our information does not include any of the money that's spent independently by the Canadian Armed Forces to support their presence in the show, which we estimate in the area of about $1 million annually. Next slide, please. You'll see the audience here. Just in our Scotiabank Center attendance alone, it's higher than what's forecasted for the Junos this year, and it's higher than what they saw in 2019 in Hamilton, I think was the last location, wherever it was. I'm not sure. Somewhere in Ontario. Next slide, please. Visitor spending for the tattoo is at about 7.5 million, whereas the Junos comes in around 4 million, I believe, in 2019 at their last show. Next slide, please. At a town visitor share for the tattoo is higher than the Juno's forecast for 2024. Next slide, please. In fact, the tattoo in 2023 saw visitors from every Canadian province and territory, 47 to 50 states, and 15 other countries from around the world in 2023. The economic impact comparison between the tattoo 2023 and Juno's 2024, the tattoo's economic impact is higher. Next slide, please. Room night comparisons, visitors and production blocks are higher. Next slide, please. This is based on production spend. So one thing that is very equal is the amount of money that the Juno spend in market for production, and the tattoo as well. It's the same. Again, not including the Canadian Armed Forces though, so that would actually put us $1 million higher if you included that. But just based on this purely alone, we see there's an equal production spend. Next slide, please. Here we have a comparison of provincial and municipal investment of the tattoo 2023 and this coming Junos. And as you can see, there's quite a disparity there. The tattoo is receiving $1 million from the province and $750,000 from the city of Halifax. Next slide, please. This is a comparison based on production spend and municipal and provincial investment. So we'll see the blue again, our production spends are the same, but the level of there's a large disparity in the level of investment. Next slide, please. And this also is economic impact comparison based on provincial and municipal investment combined. And it tells the same story, a great disparity. So this data that we have, it clearly illustrates that there is a disparity in funding when it comes to investing in local major events like the tattoo versus visiting events like the Juno Awards. And you know, the tattoo has been contributing between 20 and $40 million in economic impact annually since 1979. And just to be clear, this comparison is no way a statement, you know, from the tattooer or myself against the tattoos. We're delighted that the Juno Awards are coming here. We think it's important for our event ecosystem and for our local economy and for our artists. But what we're trying to show here is the rationale for investment and to show this great disparity. Next slide, please. Another area of disparity, and which is behind our rationale for new investment, is that the federal government had a recovery program for festivals and events, 2-year program, 2021-2022, which was a $200 million fund to fund basically operations and stabilization activities for major events and festivals. However, not one festival in Atlantic Canada qualified because they created a threshold that just wasn't a revenue or expense threshold that was higher than every major festival in Atlantic Canada combined to meet. So not one festival was able to access these funds. And for example, the Calgary Stampede received $8.6 million from the fund in 2022, and another $4.4 million in COVID recovery money. And they ended up with a $13.8 million profit for their fiscal year 2022. Also, in recent news, the Montreal Just for Laughs Festival received $6.5 million from the Special Events and Festivals Recovery Fund from the federal government in 2022, and they just filed for bankruptcy protection last week. Next slide, please. As I mentioned at the outset, our visibility ranks high. We just participated in the 2023 visitor survey that the Tourism Nova Scotia folks did for us. And the tattoo came out far ahead as the #1 most familiar cultural event to happen in Nova Scotia at 38% recognition rate. We were 10 points higher than the next behind us, which was the Art Gallery Nova Scotia and the Halifax Busker Fest, and then third was Celtic Colors. Next slide, please. Nearly 11,000 of our ticket holders came from outside the Halifax Region Municipality, which is 37% of our total audience was from outside of Halifax share. Next slide, please. A big success story for us this year, probably our greatest, was a huge shift that we're seeing in our age demographics. The tattoo has always been stereotyped as sort of a show for older people, and only older folks went to our show. Since we started our Kids Are Free program last year, we can see that our audience is in transition. And our survey respondents last year versus 2019, you can just see by looking at the graph how they've leveled out and how our audience is becoming younger. Next slide, please. Also, in regard to the tourism or sort of the federal government piece here, is that we feel like we're, not only by the federal government, but I think at all 3 levels, we feel like we're sort of taken for granted and not really considered as a tourism property as much as we should be. And in fact,
30 seconds.
The Federal Tourism Recovery Fund and their new growth program, we've been turned away from by COA as not a fit as a tourist product. Next slide, please. We also feel that we are very valuable when it comes to armed forces recruiting. Right now, more than ever, this is so important. Our armed forces are down by about 20,000 personnel. They're having problems big time getting people in. We are a great product, a great outlet for young people to come and see the show and get the warm and fuzzies and see how a meaningful career can be in the Canadian Armed Forces or in our police forces. To sum up, I'm running out of time here. This went by very quickly. The tattoo generates major economic impact. There's big disparity between investments publicly with visiting events and events that are local that generate as much or more economic impact. We're seeking new investment to carry on to continue with our marketing to a younger audience and making our technology more modern so we can have a more robust product entertainment-wise from a technological perspective, and to continue marketing efforts to increase our group sales, increase our box office sales. Now, since we're seeing signals of economic recovery, it's a golden opportunity for us to not only stabilize, but to increase our presence and to become successful in the future in a post-pandemic era. So thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate the presentation. Great. Good to hear about the huge shift in demographics, the younger audience. Is that because you started the rumors that Taylor Swift was going to show up? Is that why that made the difference? No, just kidding. Maybe it's a good
No.
rumor for that year coming up, maybe.
We made kids free. Kids are free,
Yeah,
and
no,
it's
I'm
changed
just kidding.
everything.
And that's a great decision. Any questions from the committee for Scott? Not seeing any from the committee. I have a couple of questions. Can you explain to share with us other similar events around the globe that are like the tattoo? I know the Nova Scotia tattoo is unique in many ways, but where else do we have significant types of events like this?
So in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, the Virginia tattoo, which was basically modeled after our tattoo here in Halifax. Their folks came up years ago, studied the show, even bought our old set. They still use our old set in the show. And they've become very successful. In fact, they're now outpacing us. They've basically capitalized on our group sales, our bus tour traffic, and our bus tour traffic is behind now. Theirs is up. And we need to be more competitive with them. So we're very friendly competitors, but just again, to my point, we need new investment so that we can compete. That show is becoming very successful, and especially when it comes to group tour and travel.
Thank you. You alluded to the $650K that you're asking of all three orders of government. What are your conversations with the other two orders of government?
It's all just in conversations. I'm meeting with program officers and trying to find ways to connect. Everybody's willing to have the conversation if everybody else is willing to partner.
And the same conversations about you mentioned about the $10 million federal government funds to help with the events and the festivals. Have you had any conversation with them since no events were awarded for that money?
Yeah, so that $200 million fund is now gone and exhausted by 25 festivals from Quebec to British Columbia. And I've been screaming about this for 2 years to my members of parliament, but they're just wasn't something that really was. They weren't as outraged about it as I was.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I think Councillor Morris has a question. Thank you, Scott. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks, Scott, for the presentation. I'm just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what's driving the increase in production costs. What are the top three things, perhaps, that are increasing your production costs? And also, can you, perhaps you mentioned this and I missed it in your numbers, but can you give us the breakdown of the support you've received? Like what percentage comes from HRM, what percentage comes from the province, and what percentage from the feds?
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. So production costs are increasing primarily by labor costs is I think the biggest one. It's the same as any other sector, really. And a lot of the production companies, they're part of our ecosystem. They were down for 2 years too. So all of their prices have increased in inflationary pressures alone. Even transportation from a warehouse in Burnside to the Scotiabank Center, when you're taking 45 tractor trailers over there in and out of a show, that's a big increase. So it's the everyday inflationary pressures that all Canadians are facing that is increasing costs. When it comes to breakdown of our funding, about 20 to 25% of our funding annually comes from government sources. So, which is fairly low for a lot of organizations. The lion's share of our revenue comes from box office and sponsorship. So within that, I'd say HRM is about 1 or 2% of our budget for investment.
Okay. But in terms of the split between the three levels of the 20% revenue, how does it split between the three levels of government?
The exact percentage split between them? To get that, so I'd say the province put in 400 last year. I should say it's 10%, not 1%. I don't have the exact numbers. 400. The feds were over 100. HRM was 100.
Okay.
I can email it to you.
Sure, no problem. I just was looking for a ballpark. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions for Scott? Seeing none, once again, Scott, thank you. And once again, did you say you're in Ireland?
I am.
And you're gonna be there for St. Paddy's Day?
I am.
And have you been there before St. Paddy's Day?
No, I haven't. So
Oh, well,
Yeah.
we'll look forward to testing your blood sample when you come back and how that changed after St. Paddy's Day. Enjoy your time with your family. Thank you for the tattoo. The tattoo is a very important event in Atlantic Canada. We appreciate all the work, and so there'll be further conversations about your ask and opportunities to have the conversation also with the committee. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Be safe.
yeah, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate being on the agenda today. Take care.
All right, so our next presentation is 7.3.2 short-term rental and contribution to the marketing levy. And I believe we have Jolene Dory. Is that correct? Jolene, are you online?
Yeah,
There you
I'm
are.
here.
Hey, good
Yep.
morning, Jolene. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
And so Jolene, tell us about yourself and your organization, and then you have 10 minutes. And Katie, our municipal clerk, will give you a heads up when you have 30 seconds left in your time, and then let you know when your time is up. And then after that, if the committee wishes, they can ask you questions. So the floor is yours, and welcome.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Katie, do you have my presentation or do you just? Yeah, perfect. Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Jolene Dory. I'm joining you today from a beautiful Airbnb in St. Margaret's Bay. I'm here on vacation for March break with my family, and I have poor internet connection. So if I start to lag or anything, just let me know. I may have to turn off my video. Okay. So this is our request to kind of have a seat at the table with this committee. So we're calling it our proposal for inclusion with the Special Events Advisory Committee. And next slide, please, Katie. So I'm joining you on behalf of Strands. So Strands is a new association that's been in the works for about a year, but it's just formally established in February. So Strands stands for Short-Term Rental Association of Nova Scotia. We are a group of short-term rental owners who are brought together, as you all know, by the new regulations that started to roll out in the summer of 2023 and then came into effect, last year, September, October, and probably ongoing. Our association provides STR owners with a central point of reference for clarification on bylaws and regulations, and also to form a voice and represent STR owners to the public and the media. In February of this year, the formal association was established, and we assigned the board positions, as you can read below. So we have a president, vice president, I'm the treasurer, and we have 2 directors on our board. The Strands Association meets bi-weekly, building plans for our STR community engagement. We are working on our website, social media platforms, and also collecting a lot of feedback from our STR community on what they want to see, what action items we can implement, et cetera, et cetera. So we're pretty new and we have a lot of work to do. Next slide, please. So our proposal for inclusion for today's meeting is, as you all are aware, in October of 2023, the Regional Council imposed a 3% levy to be used for marketing on all short-term rentals in Nova Scotia. In our estimation, with approximately 6,200 STR units registered in Nova Scotia, if each drew on what we consider the low end, 25,000 in revenue each year, there would be an estimated 4.65 million contributed to the levy each year by the STR owners. So of course, we don't have the exact data on this. Different jurisdictions are implementing the levy. Some are not there yet. Some are in discussions, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just a high level estimation on what we think the STRs may contribute to the levy fund each year. The recent decree by government to impose this levy just underscores the importance of our STR section to the Halifax tourism industry and strategy. So STRs are a very important piece. I know, like leading on to Scott's presentation, I hosted a family who came for the tattoo last year. So STRs help boost the tourism economy. and visitors appreciate the diversity and personal touch of these accommodations. The Strands community would like to have a representative join the Special Events Advisory Committee and or any other committee that will manage this levy fund. So as I said, we're a new association, and I've been digging in. I appreciate Catherine's helping guide me through how to kind of, get my foot in the door and see what's going on and trace the path of this levy fund. Next slide, please. So Strands is seeking representation for several reasons. So one is equity. STRs contribute to the levy and should have representation in decisions affecting these funds. Expertise. STR owners possess unique insights into visitor preferences and trends, which can be invaluable in crafting effective marketing. And accountability. Involving STR owners in decision-making ensures greater transparency and accountability in fund association. We're looking to strengthen our partnership between the government and private stakeholders, and increased in tourism revenue through more effective use of the marketing levy fund. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, Strands is committed to the growth and sustainability of Halifax's tourism industry. By granting a voice to Strands, the committee can leverage the collective expertise of the STR sector. Strands looks forward to building this collaborative relationship, an opportunity to contribute to future decisions on tourism marketing for Nova Scotia. STR owners have a unique insight to what visitors are looking for when traveling to Nova Scotia, and Strands feels this collaboration will have mutual benefits for both the committee and the STR owners. And I think that's it. Katie, that might be my last one.
Thank you very much, Jolene, for that presentation. The short-term rentals are a very important part of our economy and our tourism, as you stated in your presentation. And so we do appreciate it. I think it's a good thing that you're getting organized and becoming one voice. That makes perfect sense. Are there any questions? Allison, you have a question? Sorry, for Jolene, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jolene, would you mind sharing how many members you have as part of the association so far?
So documented, we don't have any documented yet. We started through Facebook groups, which are in the thousands. And it was really disorganized, as you can imagine, and hard to gather everyone together. And a lot of times those forums become just, open discussions, and you can't track what STR owners are really looking to achieve, right? And as you can imagine, there was a lot of passion behind some of those conversations that happened in the past year. And what we found when we would hold meetings, whether it was a monthly update meeting, we would post it in these Facebook groups that are across Nova Scotia. And typically you would see the same members joining those meetings month over month. And then you would have various, 30, 40 people, different people kind of joining, coming and going, but not consistently. So our core team of the association, we are the consistent group that has managed to kind of stick this through and figure out how do we get a voice for STR owners? How do we, kind of establish ourselves formally? And so that's when we built the plan to create the association. So we're not yet advertised publicly. So this meeting is kind of the first time that we're coming. Like we just got established in February, formally as an association. And so we are working on our website and social media platforms, and we are going to be opening up those groups and then advertising within our social media accounts, like the existing ones for Airbnb and short-term rental owners of Nova Scotia. There's a few different social media platforms that exist now, but we suspect that our numbers will grow quite rapidly once people know that we're established and we are a formal association.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Allison. Let's see who's next here. Councillor Morris, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Jolene. So are you saying you don't have any paid up or formal members at the moment? Is that correct?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we're still trying to develop our membership fee. When you think about IDNS, and I'm on the construction side myself, so different design groups and stuff that have association fees. Sometimes they're $500, $650 a year. We want to make this extremely affordable. So we're still meeting internally. We're thinking, $20, $25 a year type of membership fee. Our long-term vision is to have multiple chapters like across Nova Scotia. Maybe there's a Cape Breton chapter. We have links now through our existing Facebook groups with STR owners in New Brunswick and Newfoundland and other Atlantic provinces. So we're hoping that other provinces can kind of follow our lead and create their own association as well within their province. And then we would have our different chapters within Nova Scotia. So we're just established, probably not even a month in yet. But that is our goal for this year, we didn't want to come out in a Facebook group and say, hey, here we are, Strands Association. We want it to be done properly with a website and correct social media accounts. So we are engaging a marketing expert to help us work through all that on our website so that we can come out officially, professionally, not just in a Facebook group saying, hey, call Jolene, she's the treasurer of Strands, right? So that's a work in progress.
Okay, so is there a plan to inquire from your members on certain policies so that you know how to represent them? I'm just wondering how you will be testing your policies and knowing whether you have the full support of your membership.
Absolutely, yep. So the first couple of months we plan to come out just gathering feedback, basically. Surveys, feedback, polls, what are the STR members looking for? We have a kind of a close group of about 20 of us. So we know, what that feedback is that we've been tracking the past couple of months within our meeting minutes and the meetings that we've been having. But of course, as you expand to more rural parts of Nova Scotia, the needs and desires may be different of what they're looking for from the Strands Committee. But with regards to levy, everybody has to pay it, right? And so this is, I think, another benefit if Strands can get on this committee that we can advertise to our members to say, hey, you're paying this 3% levy, and we also have a voice that represents that 3% levy that you're paying. Because right now, a lot of STR owners are paying that 3% levy. They have, we've tried to do our homework. If you look at hundreds of STR owners across the province, they probably don't even know what the levy fund is, where that money is going, how it's managed, right? So we hope to get a voice in this committee so that we can be the link between the two.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Jefferson, you're next. Do you have the floor?
I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you for setting up the association. I think it's incredibly useful. I'm certain it will be for your members, but I know it will also for the partners that would like to work with the association. So separate and apart from SEAC, I quickly copied down your executive committee and our organization, Discover Halifax, we're really interested in chatting with you. So we'll reach out separate and apart from the conversations you're having here at SEAC about the services we provide, which are funded primarily also by the hotel levy. So thank you for coming today.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. Councillor Lovelace.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Jolene. And I'm so glad that you're in my district in St. Margaret's Bay, having a great March break. That's awesome. And I also want to echo congratulations. This is really important work that you're doing. It's herding cats, right? You're bringing everybody together under one umbrella. So thank you for that. I also just want to make sure that that you're aware that it is the HRM Audit and Finance Committee that appoints people to this committee, and they do so based on the terms of reference and based on that administrative order. And so for that to happen, the administrative order would need to be changed. So I just want to say to Madam Clerk that it would be really great if the organization could actually come to Audit and Finance and give a presentation. I think that's important. I also think it's important for you as an organization to begin building the terms of reference for what your membership is, having the bylaws available for people to access, having that public face so that more and more people know that this organization is an emerging actor. And also the work that you do to communicate the benefit of the marketing levy, right? And how the municipality works with the nonprofit organizations, how we work with the for-profit commercial businesses like the hotels and so on, and the restaurants, and how we, commit this important grants money to organizations like the Tattoo, who are bringing in, thousands of people, obviously, and millions over the span of a year. So this is great work. And I think too, that it might be helpful for you to actually have an overview. And I'm not sure, Mr. Chair, if we have such a thing, like a one-pager that could be distributed to this new organization that would then be able to give this to their membership. Say, hey, here is marketing levy. Nobody wants to read an administrative order. Let's be frank about that.
Right.
Okay. Like just having kind of a one sheet that kind of says, here's the benefit of the marketing levy. This is what we do. This is why we do it. This is the economic impact that it's having in our region, and so on and so forth. So again, my recommendation is to actually take the next step, go to the Audit and Finance Committee, have that presentation. In the meantime, I think we've got some work to do to provide you with kind of that one pager as far as what is the marketing levy, because the administrative order is no good. I think you'll agree with that. Like as far as reading it, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And thank you for that. Like any guidance that we can get is definitely appreciated. Like I said, Katie's been amazing to kind of, guide me through and say, okay, well, we have this meeting and you can have a presentation. And so this is really like the very first steps. But we'd be happy, like that's really what we're trying to build, right? It's a relationship to kind of bridge the gap, to be the committee that communicates back to all the STR owners so that they're not left in the dark. Because of, like I said, you can imagine how many STR owners are paying the levy now and they have no idea what it is for or what it's used for. Yeah.
Yep. And I expect that when it first started, Mr. Chair, it was hotels that were also, and B&Bs that were also saying, wait a minute, what is this? So yeah, we do have some work to do together, and I sincerely appreciate you being here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor. So seeing no other questions, I have a couple of questions. Jolene, you mentioned about how a lot of your colleagues didn't understand what the levy was for. I had to clarify for a number of people that reached out to me. I heard words, it's a money grab, and I said, nope, not at all. It goes to this levy, and this levy is extremely important to bringing events into our community. And it makes sense that the STRs contribute, but it also makes sense that you have to understand all that. And we could have done a better job when we released it. And Councillor Lovelace is correct. This committee doesn't decide who sits on this committee. It's an administrative order. I've already had conversations with the municipal clerk and looking at that. How do we make those changes? So that's fantastic. I also want to let you know that Councillor Austin, who is not part of their committee, does have a motion that was approved to look at making some amendments to the marketing levy. In particularly, there are those that own their short-term rentals and may not have been empty and still have to pay the levy. And so that was an unintended consequence. So our staff are looking at that. So again, having strands part of our conversation and a voice, I think is important to do that so we can change that and correct that. But I think the levy is really important. So seeing no other, one pager, we'll follow up with that piece too. When I'm speaking with the clerk, also Councillor Lovelace, to give you that information. But don't ever hesitate to reach out to myself or anybody in the committee, or particularly Katie I think you said she's amazing. Yep, I agree. Katie is amazing. We can all help out. So thanks for the presentation, Jolene, very much. Enjoy your time off, and don't spend too much money in St. Margaret's Bay. Come over to Dartmouth too.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks. All right, so thank you for that. Next, folks, as mentioned, as we started the meeting, unfortunately, Skate Canada couldn't do their presentation today. So we're deferring that, and we're going to come try to find another date that works for the committee and for Skate Canada. But we do have the folks from Curling Canada. So we have 7.3.4 Curling Canada. And Nolan, are you here with us? Is Nolan presenting? Who's presenting from Curling Canada?
Actually, hi everyone. It's Andy Henry. I'm the manager of marketing and tickets with Curling Canada. Both Nolan and I are at the Sport Events Congress in Winnipeg, and he is tied up with their AGM this morning, and so he's asked me just to join and introduce Hugh Avery, member of our host committee in Halifax. I was a member of the bid review committee with Nolan. We're very excited about our decision to award the trials to Halifax. It's going to be a tremendous event. We've already had some excellent response to our November announcement. So we do thank you very much for your time this morning. I'm going to turn things over to Hugh Avery, who is representing the host committee, to walk you through our slides this morning.
Well, thanks very much, Andy. Hugh, welcome. You have 10 minutes, and Katie will advance the slide upon your direction. And when you get to the end of the presentation with 30 seconds left, Katie will give you a heads up and then let you know when your time's up. And then after that, if the committee wishes, they can ask you questions for clarifying questions. So, Hugh, the floor is yours.
Great. Thanks so much, Mr. Chairman. I would also like to mention that I believe Paul Forrest from Events Nova Scotia is on the line, who played an instrumental role in our bid. So if there are any questions, Paul may be able to answer some of those at the end. So again, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our event to you today. A little bit of my background, because I don't think I know many people on the committee. I formerly was the chair of the 2010 Brier when it was held here in Halifax, and served 6 years on the board of directors for Curling Canada, and 2.5 years as their chairman of the board. So I'm very excited to help bring this event to Halifax. So today I'd just like to kind of go over the high-level view of what this event is, and then kind of look at the impact that this event will have in Halifax. So Katie, if you could go to the next slide, that would be great. So essentially, this is a curling event. It's going to be held November 22nd to 30th in 2025. And essentially the purpose of the event is to determine our 4-person team, both men's and women's, who will represent Canada at the 2026 Winter Olympics in Italy. The event itself will consist of our top 8 men's teams and top 8 women's teams from across the country after a grueling and rigorous qualification process that has already been initiated. We don't have our first team yet, but hopefully we're optimistic that we'll soon have our first team qualified after the Women's Worlds that will be held in Sydney and very shortly, I think starting this weekend. The event itself will consist of 20 to 22 draws made up of both round robin and playoff games. And so if you're not familiar with what a draw is, if you're not a curling fan, we say draw because at times you look at our ice on the picture that's on screen there. Sometimes we have up to 4 games happening on each draw. So we use the term draw. Katie, if we can go to the next slide. In addition to the curling itself, something unique, if you've not been to one of Curling Canada's premier events, we have an event a venue called The Patch. And essentially what that is curling's party place. It serves as an opportunity for our participants to take time away from the arena to go and relax, meet curling friends from around the world, around Canada. And it's a chance you can watch the games from there. There's food and beverage. When the games are not going on, we will have entertainment. Great opportunity to showcase live local talent. In addition to that, it's our intention to use this as an opportunity for cultural experiences. For example, our plan is to have local artisans perhaps to come in and show their goods and have an opportunity to showcase those, plus other cultural experiences. It's really important to us in the vein of the Olympic movement about showing the diversity. We have an incredibly diverse city, and this is an opportunity for us to create more than just a curling event, but rather a festival, and certainly in that spirit. And that event will be held at the Halifax Convention Center. We have a fantastic city with the infrastructure to hold these sort of events where you can do both of those things at the same time. So next slide, Katie. So what does this bring to Halifax? That's a really important question. It is a big ask. We understand that, but we'll look at the most recent trials that was held in 2021 in Saskatoon. Saskatoon saw over 107,000 folks attend the venue live. In addition to that, we had over 5 million Canadians watch live on TSN, the live television broadcast, with over 60 hours of coverage. Keep in mind at 2021 where we were as a world, right? And to have that number of attendees is pretty significant. it resulted in a total economic impact for Saskatoon and the province of Saskatchewan of about $12.7 million. Next slide, Katie. So where does it go for Halifax? We anticipate an attendance of about 120,000, which is more in line with what the event did in 2017, the last prior to Saskatoon. It was held in Ottawa. Some of our projections were anticipating about 12,000 room nights. Curling Canada alone has just shy of 2,000 room nights already booked at Hotel Halifax and the Four Points Sheraton. The event itself, while the competition lasts 8 days, the event itself actually takes closer to 14. There's an incredible long process to set up the venue, to get it ready for play, and then there's an opportunity for teams to practice, and then finally the teardown. So really, it's a 14-day event for Curling Canada. Some other numbers we wanted to share: we'll have between 300 and 400 volunteers, probably closer to the 400 mark, and most likely most of those folks will come from the metro area. But there is no doubt we will get a lot of volunteers from other parts of Nova Scotia and around the country. There is sort of an environment within the sport of curling where folks go from one major event to the next major event. A lot of retirees who have that luxury to join us in these major events. So we're looking forward to hosting those folks as well when they come to town. And again, we'll have 60 hours of live television coverage. And so I'm not sure how many people are curling fans amongst us. And if you've watched any of the broadcasts on TSN, it's a fantastic opportunity to showcase Halifax. Very often before the draw actually starts, there will be a vignette of sorts that'll show some of the great pictures of Halifax, and it'll speak of Halifax. So a really great promotional opportunity. Hopefully that will be translated into more visitors further down the road. We project an economic impact of about $13 million. I think that's a conservative estimate, but I think it'll be in line with what Saskatoon saw as well. Next slide, Katie, please. Some of the other things I want to mention that's a bit unique to this event. So Curling Canada, its major properties, this event, the Brier, the Scotties, are profit-making ventures, but the money is used to fulfill Curling Canada's mandate. Curling Canada is a charitable organization, nonprofit, and so all those funds get turned back into the development and promotion of the sport. Part of this arrangement, there is a profit-sharing mechanism, both with the host committee and with the member association. Nova Scotia Curling Association is one of the 14 members that make up the Canadian Curling Association. And so there is a percentage of the profits that will go to the Nova Scotia Curling Association, which will be able to fulfill its mandate, much like Curling Canada, but on a provincial level. And so one of the things they are responsible for is the high performance, most of which actually occurs within the metro area. So a lot of those funds will remain in Halifax. The host committee also receives a percentage of profit sharing. There's a percentage of ticket sales plus the 50-50. Where does that money go? Well, that goes to the five, still working on the actual distribution, how it's allocated, but the money will go to the 5 local curling clubs. And so for your awareness, there are 5 curling clubs within HRM. Of course, there's Halifax Curling Club in the South End, third oldest curling club in Canada. There is the curling club on the CFB base, CFB Curling, Halifax Curling Club. And we have the Mayflower Curling Club on Monaghan. However, by the time this event comes along, they will be moved to Tantallon. And then, of course, we have the Lakeshore Curling Club in Sackville, and we can't forget about our Dartmouth Curling Club in downtown Dartmouth. So all those organizations are nonprofits, and they'll be using those funds to help with capital improvements, promotion of the sport, and hopefully lead to an uptake in additional curlers coming into their venues and looking at more long-term economic impacts for those clubs and for the municipality. The other thing I want to mention that's a bit unique, Curling Canada has decided to do something with our curling properties for the Olympics, something unique it's never done before, where there's 2 other events that help lead to the Olympics, and all of those 3 events are actually going to occur in Nova Scotia. So the first of those events will take place in the Ameris Centre in Kings County near Liverpool. It is our Canadian mixed doubles event. So unlike the 4-person event, this is a 2-person event, and it's one of the unique sports in the Olympics where men and women compete collectively, and so against each other as well. So that's fantastic. There's a lot of growth in that sport. That'll be held in Liverpool starting in December 2024 and finishing in January. So if you're looking for a place to go on New Year's Eve, we want to go and run down to the Ameris Centre. I'm sure they'll have a party going on. In addition to that, I mentioned the grueling process to get to our event. There will be one final event, a pre-qualifying spot for one team. Of all the teams who have not qualified for our event, there will be an opportunity for those teams who have hit a certain threshold or qualification. They'll be invited to Wolfville at the Acadia University for that last spot, and that'll be held in October, just prior to our event in 2025. So the reason I wanted to show these, while these events, we have not included those projections in our $13 million economic impact projection. It should be noted that we anticipate there will be a lot of those folks who will come from across the country, who will come through the Halifax International Airport, certainly spend some time, probably more from the Wolfville event, staying in Halifax, and then also spending their money at our restaurants and shops. So we think there will be a certainly a great spinoff, certainly from a cost savings perspective. Not sure how familiar folks are with curling, but we use 45-pound granite rocks, and we need 64 of them. Whole lot cheaper to run them an hour down the road than it is to bring them in from Winnipeg or Calgary or a place like that. So there will be certainly some savings. Last slide, Katie. So in addition to the economic impact, I think it's really important to talk about some of the social benefits that this event brings to Halifax. And so it was really paramount to our organizing committee that that we align with the priorities of HRM, in particular the communities and environment priorities. And so as you can imagine, for larger events, Curling Canada has developed sort of a host committee structure, and they have various jobs in order to make these events work. Part of our bid process, we were quite adamant that what we wanted to do was add a whole new arm that looked at community outreach. And specifically, we have a director whose job will be to look at equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. And we do have a plan for that to ensure that all our activities have considered that. And it is our plan to have the most diverse committee that curling has seen. And so we've already leveraged this event. I'm really happy to talk about the engagement. Some of our host committee members are also on the Nova Scotia Curling Association. So recently just met with the Indigenous leaders in the province who look after Indigenous education. And so the uptake, and you'll see one of our little pictures on that, is our team on the right there, showcasing a program called Rocks and Rings. And so there has been a tremendous amount of uptake. Not only are we talking about bringing it into part of the curriculum within Indigenous schools, but also Indigenous community centers. They're very interested in bringing that program in. And so the plan is for the next year to showcase the sport through Rocks and Rings, and then the following year bring Indigenous groups into the actual curling clubs. And so we're excited about that. Another program we'll be taking advantage of is Curling Canada's Youth Engagement Program, introducing the sport to underrepresented communities. You see a couple of photos there of that being done in some of the other cities in Canada. So we'll be certainly doing that as part of this, leveraging this event. And finally, in the spirit of greening government, we have already negotiated with the city an opportunity for all of our volunteers have the chance to ride Metro Transit for free during the event. In addition to that, any of our ticket holders will have a discounted rate. I think it's $1 to get on our Metro Transit to take advantage. So we're incredibly important. It's incredibly important for us to take advantage of that and align with the HRM priorities. With that, I'll take some time to breathe now and certainly open it up to some questions from the committee.
Hugh and Andy, thank you very much for your presentation. Really good, how clear is the committee with curling? I'm sure there's a mix, but the one thing we all know when it comes to curling, you guys know how to have fun. That's for darn sure. So curling party place and is a great idea. Any questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, I really like the fact how you're engaging the youth into curling. I have actually friends that their kids are involved, and that's fantastic. That's the growth of the sport. Really like you're involving the underrepresented communities for sure, and particularly our new Canadians. You saw your picture there, obviously new Canadians, and how cool is that to understand Canada and by involving one of its major sports and historical sports and curling. So good job, you and Andy on that. So, was there a question there from Catherine? I see Ross, you had a question. Sorry, go ahead, Ross.
I'd love to say thank you to community leaders and volunteers who commit to this. I know that curling is largely supported and significantly supported by volunteers, and these events wouldn't happen without the support of volunteers. So just you to the team here in Halifax, to you and to everyone who's making this happen. Thank you, and congratulations also on the tremendous efforts here of expanding curling to new communities. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well said, Ross. I mean, I think, the numerous events over the years that are hugely successful in our community, it's because of the volunteers. The volunteers continue to step up. Some of the same people will go after regardless of the event, be it music or culture or be in sports. So it is, I think it's actually every community across the country does it, but I think we do it the best. So well said, Ross. Councillor Morris, you have a question?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair, and thanks you. We can feel your excitement for this event.
Great.
So thank you for that and all the work that has gone on so far and ahead. I just wanted if you could give us a little bit of a sense of, you said there would be about 120,000 visitors for this event. Can you give us a sense of the breakdown of where you think that will be local and out of province visitors, please?
The vast majority of them, no doubt, will come locally, but we anticipate at least around 6,000 or so folks who will come in, and so the number of 120,000 are not unique individuals. Those it'll be over the length of the event. We anticipate around 6,000, and that'll include players, staff as well. But we anticipate around, I think it's around 6,000 who are not located within Metro currently. So.
Okay, and then just based on experience with other similar events, who takes responsibility for the TV coverage and the vignettes that would showcase Halifax? Who would put that together?
I don't know if Andy wants to jump on, but it is all a responsibility. Once you have a successful bid, it then turns over to a Curling Canada property. So they have already negotiated all of these arrangements with TSN and others. And so they'll work on promoting the city. They'll work with TSN to develop that sort of promotional strategy.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And did you want to add to that?
No, he was bang on. Yeah, we'll be in discussions with TSN to ensure that they have everything that they need to properly profile the city through the live television coverage.
Great. Natasha, you have a question. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hi there. Hi, Hugh. Hi, Andy.
Hi.
Thanks so much for the presentation. I come from a family of curlers, not competitively, recreationally, but very familiar with that. My son's going in a couple weeks with school to try curling for the first time. So I'm really curious how that's going to play out. I think he's going to love the concept of getting to throw rocks, down the ice. So just to introduce myself, I'm the executive director here with the Restaurant Association. So I just had a really quick question, obviously, the food and beverage component of Patch at the HCC. And yeah, I was just curious what that portion looks like. Is that like catering? Does that involve like some of the local restaurants and beverage suppliers and getting them involved? And it's okay if you don't have that answered yet. I was just curious.
I don't have the full answer on that, but we can certainly supply that to you. But it's an understanding that there is an arrangement with the Halifax Convention Center, so they have certain the convention center itself has certain contracts and that sort of thing. But we are certainly going to look at opportunity. Back in 2010, I don't know if the same thing is available, but one of the things that we did in 2010 that made Halifax unique, we don't believe in cookie cutter approaches. I think we have a fantastic province. We had Taste of Nova Scotia actually come in to some of our lounges, and restaurateurs were given the opportunity to kind of showcase some of their food. And so if I can't promise that that's available, we'll certainly entertain anything like that. But it was a fantastic opportunity. There was a lot of uptake from restaurants for folks to try some of the samples with the intention of them then coming and going to their restaurants while they're here in town. So we'll try to do that. And what we'll certainly want to do, if that's not possible because of contractual obligations, we will certainly certainly be having various rallies and things like that, where we will call upon both the restaurant community as well as our entertainment community to bring them in. And we've started some negotiations there, how they can help and certainly bring exposure to both our entertainment and our restaurants, for sure.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Natasha. Any other questions? Seeing none, Andy and Hugh, thank you very much. The way that this works, we have other days where we're going to have people do presentations like you folks have done today. We may have heard earlier on that Skate Canada was supposed to present today, so we're going to have to come up with a date. Then once we have all the presentations, the committee has some discussion, staff go away and they develop a report with a recommendation. That comes back to this committee. Then this committee has further debate on do we accept what's being presented? Do we want a reduction? Do we want an increase? Do we someone that wasn't chosen? That committee has that ability to do that. And then whatever this committee decides, that then goes to regional council for final decision. So timing is very short. A lot's going to happen in a very short period of time. But both of you, we truly appreciate the work and that you're doing. We look forward to having curling once again take over our little city. So it's fantastic. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, if any of the committee members have any questions that they think of after this is over, certainly feel free. Katie has my email. I'm sure I've been a bit of a pain to her. She's been wonderful, but you can certainly have her contact me and we'll get you any information that you require if anything else comes up.
Yeah, we'll do exactly that. And when you listed off all the local curling clubs, I appreciate you saved the best for last in
Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Enjoy your
guys.
day.
So much, everyone.
Okay. Well done, folks. So next up is number 8, information brought forward. There are none. There are no reports. Madam Clerk, any added items?
No added items.
Okay, no added items. The next meeting date is April the 10th. This will be in person. So Katie, how many people do we have scheduled to present at that meeting?
I believe right now we have 6 people registered to come present with the same idea as what we did with the curling group.
And are we not looking at a little longer time frame than we normally have for our meetings? Is that correct?
Yeah, we were thinking, and we'll send an email to all the committee members, that we might make it a full day meeting and then in the morning have the presentations from the community groups, and then in the afternoon have discussion of the report itself. And then we will probably provide a lunch for everyone as well, and we'll just make it a full day event and make it a bit more streamlined that way.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I know that's a big ask folks, but as you know, this committee, there's little involvement most of the year, but then we get to this time of year and in the fall, it'll be very similar. So if you can block off that day, that'd be great. And if you need to step away to do phone calls or do a virtual meeting, we can have rooms available for you. But I appreciate it if you can all make it for that meeting. It's really important. So that's great. I think we're time before we go to adjournment. Natasha was up last night to one of your restaurants. Went out to the Sea Smoke. Fantastic. One of my favorite spots, the Sea Smoke. Best mussels in town, best black mumbo sushi. So it was really good. So I keep discovering new restaurants that are in a town that I didn't even know exist at the North End and all over, and I'm sure even beyond the downtown. So thanks everybody very much for your time today. Can we have someone ask a call for an adjournment?
So moved.
Moved by Ron. That's fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Katie, Billy. Thank you, Billy. Can you stick around just for a quick second online?